Evening, all. I'm just chilling. Box seems to work, and so does this one. What the heck does this do? Alrighty. Evening, John, Michael. Who else is out there? Mark, Neil. Hey, Mark, if you could do me a favor, spreading the love, spreading the word around. I didn't get a chance to. I mean, I know YouTube tries to find people, but I didn't get a chance to plug this one. Post it wherever you like, if you like. Meanwhile, in a few minutes, I'll jump on top of this thing and ride it just for fun. Amazing how sturdy this thing is. Just incredibly amazing. Okay. One box in the back. Hey. Just the right amount of tension. Evening, Reginald. Hey, Andrew. By the way, since everybody's here, thank you, Mark. I'd like to thank Mark publicly. Where the heck are those things? For sending me wherever they are. Oh, yeah, here they are. Thanks for sending me a set of these things. Save me some money there. Well, or at least save me a piece of wood, and it's better than wood for the spacers. Unfortunately, I won't be able to attach the motors just yet because I got to go to the depot tomorrow and buy some 10/32, whatever size bolts fit these things. It's in the plans. But I'll show you guys now that, let's see, who else is here? Hey, Corey, how's it going? Dina? Let's see. I was going to send Dave the public link. Mark, could you do me a favor and send Dave this link? He's probably still chatting with Ralph. I don't know about the YouTube. Let me put this away a little bit and do a little cleanup. Okay, right. I don't want to take the box off because it's so much fun with it on. So I'll just find a way to clamp it. Ted clamp it, that is. Movie stars. That's not going anywhere. I should go ahead and mount that. Why not? I gotta buy a note for anyone that that builds one of these things. Get all thread quarter-inch bolts, not the ones that they sell at the depot that only have like an inch of thread, because it's just not enough. But in the meantime, I'll just place this here. And again, if you weren't here earlier watching this this live, these are the little T-nuts that you want to get. They're little. Some people call them propel nuts. They're barbed on the sides there, and they don't come out. Those little prong ones, those cheap ones, they fall out. They're useless, practically. Good enough. This will stay. All right. Let's have some fun. Let's move this up and down a bit, shall we? Let's see. Will I be operating at an incline or vertical? Oh, actually, let me read the questions. B, the old CNC is going to be still in my office. It's in fact, I had to take it apart to get it through the front door, let alone my office door in the kitchen. And I actually built an enclosure around the whole thing. So that CNC is not going anywhere until I move, which, 4 or 5 years down the line, I'm planning on, when the kids are out of high school, planning on moving up north, but to a nice wide open space. And I'm bringing this along with me. All I need is a couple of studs 80 inches apart. So that's a beautiful thing. Thanks, Corey. I appreciate it. Yeah, this is let me tell you, it was, I'll tell you a little bit of the difficulties I had, Corey, in building this thing. And I plan to operate it vertically, yes. Advantages and disadvantages. Disadvantage, well, you're short on space here. But that's not a disadvantage if you have a big shop. Another disadvantage is you got to clean up the table anytime you want to put it away. Or you could look at it as an advantage. The table legs, for those of you who haven't seen, go up magnetic. I mean, they're on a magnetic catch. And then this obviously doesn't roll unless this normally doesn't roll because of the lead screws. And I'll probably have it in the back or in the middle. On the fulcrum point is the exact middle. This makes it a little easier, actually, to put away. Let me. So now you see it in all its glory. Hang on, let me.
Javi!
Dave, welcome. Everybody's there in the chat. Say hi to Dave, everyone. So I got, well, I still got to get the rest of the box on, but I've got the back and the front, and it is still a bit heavy. But anyway, so for those of you who haven't seen before, I have a couple of, by the way, on these garage door rails, you could drill anywhere you want a hole, and I just have a bolt that I slide in, and I have one on either side, but one will suffice. Right there, this is where I normally plan to operate it. Corey was asking me, Dave, if I plan to operate it vertically. The answer is yes. If it is so heavy that those motors can't handle it vertically, not a problem. I'll buy bigger motors. Luckily, I only have to buy the 2. But I all the calculations that I've done, this box weighs about 50 pounds or so. It's about 50 pounds. The router itself, figure 10, 15 pounds for a spindle, 17 pounds. Dave did a show, and I believe it was 17 pounds for that water-cooled spindle. Now, let's see. So figure if the Z box normally weighs approximately this thing with the router on it weighs 20 or 30 pounds, and it's constantly raising it up and down. And take into account that the old sidewinders that Dave used to have, or actually even the old Gattons, the old Xylotex were 269 ounce-inch motors, practically half, almost half, a little more than half of these current motors, stepper motors. And it pulled 30 pounds up and down with no problem. I've got the 30 pounds of the box plus another 40 for the gantry itself, bringing the total up to about 70 pounds. 2 motors, divide by 2, that's 35 pounds each. So numbers-wise, if a 269 ounce-inch motor can move 30 pounds, 2 450 ounce or 425 ounce motors should be able to pull 35 pounds each, you know. And obviously I'm going to try it at one angle. I'm going to try it and again, my goal is to operate it. I'd like to load it in this position. This position would be fantastic for loading it. And then you know, because you don't want to load it vertically, the wood's going to fall on you. So, some people were saying at the prior chat, or rather in one of the comments, somebody said, "Oh, it's a shame you didn't make a 4x8 because now, no, or let's hope you don't have to put a full sheet in there." Well, guess what? I could put a full sheet in here. Let's see if I can raise the camera a bit so you guys can see. I actually have an 11-foot ceiling height. So this thing is, I mean, you don't realize how big this is until I stand right over here. Hi! Well, standard 6'8" door, so you get the general consensus. I easily have enough room with 11 feet because this is 33 inches, to raise it up over this thing, drop it in place, cut at least 5 feet of it, and then flip it around. I don't see any need to do that, but, well, it's a very elaborate panel saw, if you like. And, of course, we got the, in the down position. And just drop the legs down. I'll show you one more wonderful feature about this machine. Dave, you should enjoy this. Any questions in the chat, by the way, or have you seen it?
I'm watching it now. Raymond Dixon says, "Is the leveling issues gone here?" I'm not sure what he means by that.
Leveling. This thing is, in fact, I'll yank out my little level here. Every time I pull this out and put it here, 0.1. I mean 0.01. So, no, 0.05, sorry. 0.05, 0.1 to 0.05 at the most. And if I lean on the table, 0. I mean, it's off by a 1/10 of a degree at the most. So as far as level is concerned, there's no issue. How sturdy, you guys may ask. is this.
Well, again, too, you measure the table level, but if you're running at an angle, that doesn't matter. It's whether the gantry is parallel to the table.
Right. And the gantry is, I mean, this table, this is a torsion box. There is no way that, so anyway, one thing I did earlier, and you guys might enjoy this, if I don't kill myself here. Let's see. Just for those of you that wonder how sturdy is this wonderful piece of machinery. All right. This is me standing on the middle, 260 pounds. And yes, still rolling, but I don't want to roll too much. So, yeah. I would say this is a sturdy machine. And the screws are not even on yet, and it's still sliding very comfortably both ways. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to surf this when I finish building it. That's going to be fun. Was that fun?
That was fun to me. I can't. Of course, you know, the real test is when you put motors on it. You know, anybody can stand on it when there's no motors.
Yeah, anybody can stand on this. Well, let's put it this way. The way I see it is this. I've got a machine that's extremely well designed, very well built, and it moves so smoothly now and so effortlessly in the level position. In the vertical position, it's heavy. Worst case scenario, I'm gonna have to put bigger motors on the Ys, and that's it. Because the lead screw certainly can handle the weight. Well, okay. Another worst case scenario is I'm gonna have to put an extra. You know, maybe I'll have to put an extra one of these brackets. But that's a minor redesign for going vertical. And let's see here.
Yeah, just for the people watching there, Javi, you built that gantry just like the plans, right? There's no extra supports or gussets or anything like that.
There's nothing extra about it. I built this exactly to the plans, except enlarged. I mean, the plans call for a 4 foot by 4 foot, but the plans allow for any size. This is per plan. Everything is per the plan. The only thing, I'll probably do a live tomorrow, Dave, putting the motors in, because I don't have the screws right now. But that's all that's left here.
Yeah. Well, the point I was trying to make, Javi, is you know, I get people all the time. They think plywood and they just think it's gonna flex, and they always say, well, do I need to put these extra pieces in there? And I'm like,
there is nothing extra.
If you want to put them in there, if it makes you sleep better at night, put them in there, but you don't need them.
That's 3/4 ply. And what's more, I have vandalized the plywood, made it structurally weaker by carving these funky letters on it here that say Gatton something or other, and Colossus on the top. So technically, this is weaker than the Gatton build, because the Gatton build is I hurt my knuckles with this thing. This thing is so solid. It's fun. This is fantastic. You know. And the minor flex you see here. First of all, you don't care about the flex. I mean, if you pull from the middle, or if some machines actually have a bar underneath, which obviously this can't have. It's got legs and everything. But machines that are designed that way have a bar underneath and have one lead screw. This thing is fantastic. It's got the 2 lead screws. As long as they're running in parallel, this thing is going to be, you know, perfect. There's right now, if I push, I can probably get 1 inch and a half of flex if I push really hard. And That's, I mean, that doesn't come into play because that's where the both sides are driven from.
Yeah, yeah. Once you put the lead screws in there, like Mark says in the chat there, you can't move it like
exactly.
that when the lead screws are
exactly what Mark said. There's no flex when the lead screws are there. You know, it's yeah. Where did I come up with that name Gatton from? Oh, Gatlin. Yeah. Mr. Dave Gatton himself. Yeah. Yeah, so I couldn't think of what to call the thing, so I called it Colossus. And let's see if I don't. I've been playing with this all day, and I've been pushing it to the back, trying to see how far I can go without dropping it off the back rails. I got to put a stop. Not a stop. Well, I got to put a stop to this, but I got to put a stop to the back as well. Yeah, I finished. I was watching you and Ralph while I was finishing the build. Didn't he say he was gonna drop by here?
I sent him the link. I don't know if he'll show up in the chat or not, but I've sent him the link to the YouTube thing.
No, Andrew, I'm putting the Y motors in the back because I didn't want, just in case, or the days that I'm operating it horizontally, for whatever reason I may do that, they're going to stick out some more in the front. Here, let me lower this a little. The days, as you see, I'm a pretty big guy. And I've got, I'd say, what, 16 inches? Where's my metric? I got 16 inches and a half from here to here. Take away 3/4 of an inch for this, for the mount. And I basically, I'm going to have very little walking room, so I didn't want to. I didn't want motors or anything jutting out in the way, you know, sticking into my stomach just in case. I sacrificed the table, and I actually made it just a little bit. I calculated just a little bit farther than the wall. The original build. Oh yeah, I was going to tell Corey about the build and about the table. The original design was to be the following. I was just making a frame. Everything you see here except the top and the Gatton CNC. I was going to actually build an entire Gatton, torsion box and all, and screw it on top of this. So the original design was a 2x4 frame going all the way to the end, and being hinged at the end. And actually, the original design was going to, it's a little convoluted. Let's see if I can explain it. Actually had these, let me put these down so I can explain while I'm, the original design had the legs. See what you can see here. Okay, so imagine, if you will, there's a leg here on either side. I was actually going to do a frame and inset, so the legs could be out of the way of the rails, because you got the rails there. Let me show you a little higher. See if I can get the whole thing in view. Yeah. So you got the rails. The original design was going to have those two legs. Then I adapted the design and decided to make it, it kind of looked like a fork. Well, no, not a fork. It was like a box here and two boxes here, because in the middle there was going to be another leg. The fulcrum point is about here. So this whole area was for a leg that goes all the way down to the ground, as you see, if you can see it on the ground, down there. Now, what happened was, as I was building the box, or as I was redesigning it, the last design, I thought to myself, you know, why am I going to, that's an awful lot of weight. Why am I going to build an entire frame and then a second frame on top? Now, the reason I have to build the second frame on top originally was because these motor mounts have to go on top of the at the end of the 2x4 frame. And as you'll notice, if this was the bed, well, how the heck am I going to attach it to the back? Well, I'll tell you. I redesigned it. I put 2x8s on the sides. So now the things are, so it's as if it's raised up 4 inches. And I split the 2x4, so you have, this one is, well, there you go. There's a slit in there. I have to fine tune it a little, but this slips inside a little slot right here, and you have the motor mount exactly where it's supposed to be on either side, and that's what I ended up doing for the redesign. I ended up putting the skin on top of it, extending it 2 inches on either side. And I didn't think about it at the time, but since my studs are 80 inches apart, 64 is too small. If I go one stud less, one space less, I got 64 inches. 4 times 4 spaces of 16 inches on center. 64 inches, you take away all the space from the 2x4s and the rails and the space needed, you end up with a 5 foot, less than 60 inches. And I wanted to use a full lead screw on the X. So I went 80 inches. The problem with 80 inches is, because I wanted to mount it to the stud, you don't want this thing falling in your face. The problem with 80 inches is now, if you have this table incorporated in this, well, the lead screw is going to come up to about here. It's going to be a little bit, it's going to be 4 or 5 inches short of the hole. No big deal. You put an extender and that's where, so it won't go all the way. But you could actually get almost a full 72 inches of travel. So that's always good.
So when are we going to see some chips? That's what I was tuning in for tonight.
We're getting there. We're getting there. You've been
watching. My show ran long. You should have had time to.
Yeah, well, I did. I built the whole Z box. I had to eat too.
Oh yeah. I forget about eating.
Yeah, I don't know, especially me. I take a lot more time than the regular person to eat. This would have been done by now if I didn't decide to paint it blue, and I really like the blue.
Yeah, the blue is awesome. I like it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the whole thing. Probably I've got nonstop, I'd say 10 to 12 hours on it. The bulk of that is the 3 coats of paint and the sanding that I've done on it, easily 6 hours worth, and the cutting these pieces as well, and trimming all those underneath. You can't see it, but I know it's there. The 2x4s I cut down to let's see if I have a piece laying around. Well, anyways, I cut the round. Dave Gatton likes to call it de-radii-ing. I cut it to a 2x3.
That's the technical term.
That's the technical term, yeah. So there you go. So that's that. This is always fun. Whee. And Let's see here. A X and Y will run parallel and true, even about yeah, yeah. The entire machine itself, and that's why the original design was have a box go up and down and stick an entire machine on. A machine, it doesn't matter which way you turn it. It does in the sense that gravity will work. Let's put it this way: the Z box, it's actually going to help if it runs vertical. It's not going to weigh it down at all. It's going to be running this way, so it's definitely going to work. The gantry makes very little difference. Right now, it's riding on these screws. When it let me put it this way: when it's pulling toward me, it's just as easy as if it's pushing down. It's just as easy as if it's pushing this way because of the V groove bearings. And the fact that Dave designed it where this and this all go together, it's not going to be falling off or anything like that. So that works out. Now you could design it, and you could design it so the gantry goes sideways, and then you don't have an issue at all with the Y anymore. Well, if you call the gantry the Y, I mean the two screws the Y, because vertically it will be going this way and horizontally it'll be going this way. It's still there's gravity's not going to affect it in that sense. What will affect then would be the X, and the X is it's just going to be this box, the weight of this box. So theoretically, it would have been a better. It would definitely be no problem if I built it the other way. I don't like having it. There's two reasons. Number one, I don't like having the gantry going side to side. I have that issue with that table, and the gantry should always be the long end. I mean, this is my opinion. And number two, when I fold this down, as I intend to, I plan to run the gantry all the way to the top. The gantry currently sits I would say 16 inches plus another 20 to 22 inches from the end of the rail. So if I go 22 inches from the end of the rail, the gantry is going to be above my head. And if I have the X set over to one side, heck, I can work it at face level. I can work on the router anytime I want. That's nice and easy. That's another advantage that I love for this particular design, is that I've been working. I get on a ladder and I put these screws in, and I don't have to, or I get on the side and put them on while they're to the side. The underneath part, which normally you got to crawl under the table to bolt this on, all I did was great. Now I took out the bolt. There we go. Hang on. Got to remind myself not to pull it completely all the way out. All right. So I ended up doing this. Oh yeah, let me. Forgot to put present so it doesn't keep switching screens. So I did this, and now I crawl back here, and I'm working comfortably, standing up on any part of this, including the legs. I walk back here. There's plenty of room to walk. Hello there. As long as, nobody closes. Well, actually, yeah, that'd be a nice surprise. Great hiding place for anyone. The only thing I got to work around is the three legs that are connected to here are diagonally. So you basically have the whole table and three legs diagonally that I got to step over. Short of that, that hole underneath is very easy to work with. Oh, and by the way, if one question I had before was, well, what happens if this thing for whatever reasons wants to push back and bangs in? I don't have to worry about that because I could always insert a bolt on top of the wheel and it'll lock in place regardless. But the weight alone will keep it down. If I see that it's a problem because of the movement, then...
Javi, you got a question about, Corey wants to know what was your trial and error like to find the fulcrum point?
Okay, well, luckily, it wasn't that bad for me at all. You have two ways of doing it. If you're a math nerd like I am, electrical engineer, I loved all those, you know. If you enjoy working with trigonometry, sines, cosines, and the like, then by all means do it manually like I did. If not, get familiar with SolidWorks or something like that, where you could actually put all the fulcrum points in and you can actually see. But what I did was, originally, I had designed this machine so the fulcrum point was 2/3 of the way in. Now, 2/3 of the way in, obviously, there's a lot more weight on the back. So when it comes near the end, it's really, basically it was almost shoving me across the room. And that was without the gantry on it. Imagine if the gantry was in the back with the you know, it would be very difficult. And at that point, I'd probably put a winch and attach it to the ceiling and do something like that. That's another option. The advantage to having the fulcrum forward is this would be much higher. So I could actually be working on 0, 0 at this level here. And it would be much a lower table. So there is an advantage there. The disadvantage is the weight. I tried to go with the balance that I found, and mine is, it's not quite half. It's, because if you look, let's see, it's 56 inches from the back, and 30 inches from the front. So actually it kind of is at the 1/3 point, more or less. That's what I had originally designed, is 1/3 of the way in. The issue with 1/3 of the way in was I added 12 inches to the design because I needed the motor to clear about 5 or 6 inches in the horizontal position, and here's the motor. I still have the rail because the motor falls right in line with the rail. So now I've got another 3.5 inches sticking out, which is the that rail. So I had to push it out 8 inches, which now my original fulcrum wasn't 2/3 of the way. Now it was 2/3 plus 12 inches, which, well, it was like more like 4/5 of the way out. But that was a quick fix. That was just a quick redesign. And that's it. It's on the floor. I actually have it. What I did was, since it's maybe 6 inches below the table, the actual fulcrum point, and I have it directly below. So you've got the 2x4, I mean the 2x8. You've got the 2 inches you need clearance for the 2x8 to move along the wall. So you got an extra inch or inch and a half, inch or inch and a quarter. So you're looking at this point being like 6 inches from here and 6 inches from the wall. This is 12 inches from the wall at the moment. And the middle fulcrum point is about it's about 6 inches. So what I did with the bottom was I actually created three. I just did simple. Let me see if I have a couple 2x4s laying around.
Mark Lindsay has a question in the chat.
Go for it.
He wants to know, where are you putting the control computer?
Well, I'll share that with you right now. So what I did on the bottom there was basically 2 point. These would be like 6 inches long each, screwed into the base of the wall, and then the other one sticking out about 6 inches, 6 or 8 inches, with the all I used were bolts. Really, the 5/16 bolts are all I needed for. If they wear out, I'll do something different. Mark, I'm going to put the control computer, not sure if I'm going to put it on this side or the other side. The way it's going to be wired is it's going to go down to the floor, and it's going to crawl up the fulcrum leg in the middle. So right now, lower this one. So right now, if you'll see, and I don't know if you can notice, you can't notice it, but here I'll put a stick to illustrate this. Imagine if I'm going to be parallel to the stick right now. So here's the stick. The stick, that represents the fulcrum point. The bottom corner goes to the wall. The top corner goes right here to the bottom of the thing. I'm going to put a hole in the 2x8, or just route them just underneath it. This fulcrum point, when it's extended completely, well, let's say this was the point. No matter what, one point is always within an inch from the bottom corner of the ground. That's where I'll put a few extra wires, and it can move. And the other point is up here. And again, I don't care whether it's here where it's horizontal or straight up where it's vertical. The table is always going to be within an inch or so of this point. That's where the wires will crawl up. So I have to bring the wires down from the. I'm still debating whether to actually leave the Xylotex and the computer here, so to have a short parallel cable, which would be the wise thing to do, and run all the stepper motor cables. One is a simple. Well, all of them are going to have to run to this point. I'll have a drag chain on this side. Got more than enough room for it. And it'll simply one will go right to this stepper motor. That's quick. The stepper motor for the one will go. Yeah, one will go all along this to the stepper motor. The other one will go underneath across to this stepper motor. And the third will go straight up to this stepper motor, and the fourth, of course, along the drag chain to this stepper motor. So the fourth, and obviously, if I have water-cooled spindle, it's going to be hoses and water.
Got a couple more questions, Javi.
Yeah. Shoot.
Raymond Dixon says, Javi, are your lower V bearings adjustable? Your gantry will be applying a huge amount of force on them in the vertical position.
The lower V bearings are all adjustable. And in this position, I mean, I'm not going to do it, but I already did it. I sat on this just to make sure that it would work, just because I like doing stupid things. So this thing rolls with 260 pounds on it. So in the vertical position, this one's not going to be an issue. Like I said, this box, I'm lifting it here, and it's not an easy lift. The biggest, the highest torque, the highest weight will be on the back rear V-groove bearing and the front top groove bearing, because that's where it's going to want to. This thing is right now wanting to torque forward. Still, you know, I mean, I can always compensate by putting a spring of some sort, you know, a spring and pulley system, but or a weight. I'm hoping it doesn't come to that, because I was very lucky with the. I was thinking I had to compensate for the table. I didn't at all. It is so. I mean, right now this is so. In fact, I want to try. Let me try real quick. Now, I'm gonna have it locked. I don't know how many times I've done that already. So what I'd like to try is taking this to the back. Yeah. And I'm going to lock it in place in the back to see what kind of a weight it's going to push against me, because worst case scenario, or until I get bigger motors, I can. I don't want to push it back too far, but
we got another question in there too, Javi. When you're
go right ahead.
If you're ready for it.
Yeah.
Let me scroll back and find it. This one's from Corey again. He says, "Will you have stabilization for the bottom when you have at the angle, leaving it clear of the door but not vertical? Wondering how you will have it set tight to not vibrate on the wheels alone."
Well, based on the Cam Master that I have, based on the these are the other bearings, good. Based on the other machine that I have, I've never had an issue with stabilization. I mean, everybody always talks about it. Oh, what happens if your machine vibrates to death because you put it on casters and stuff? Mine's on casters. It'll vibrate all at once. It doesn't make any difference. The machine is attached to the table. The piece is clamped to the table. So relative to the rest of the world spinning out of control, that router bit is going to be exactly on that position on that piece. So I don't worry about the whole table. Now, if it was a problem with twisting, I would worry about it. But I've been able to lift from one end, and there is absolutely no. It's a torsion box. I'm lifting from one end 6 feet away, diagonal. Actually, diagonal is like 8 feet away, and there's no bend whatsoever. So now I'm not going to do something ridiculous like operate the thing and be moving it while it's operating. But I don't know if that's what he was asking. If it was the If it was while it's in a vertical position, the shaking, because that was a concern of mine.
Yeah, they're saying in the chat your clamp is going to hit the wall when you move the table up to the up position.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I was just looking at that now. Thanks for noticing.
Yeah, you can tell the chat's a little behind because I still see them saying, Dave, tell him to flip the clamps.
Yeah.
He would have figured it out. Come on.
Well,
that's a little fun.
I wouldn't have. I may not have figured it out, but I certainly wouldn't have driven it full throttle.
You've kind of drawn a big crowd here. We've got 28 watching.
Excellent. The problem is it's so heavy. And these clamps are not the easiest to work with. I don't want to. Tell you one thing.
Okay, we Big Al from Odessa Woodworking and Maker Shop, Al Forte, is in the house, and he says, I have a question. Why is that Gatton CNC blue and not safety orange?
Why doesn't it?
One more time, Garage Work CNC or safety orange. Gatton CNCs are whatever color anybody wants to make.
That's because there's no safety involved in here. If you would have been here earlier, you would have seen me almost wipe out face first by standing on the in the middle of the thing.
Yeah, Mark says the Gatton CNC colors are blue and gray, which that kind of was by accident. That's just what I happened to pick out when I had the first shirts made. Speaking of shirts, if you want to go, I've got a bunch of new swag on the my shirts store.
Go to Dave's page, new swag.
So if orange is your thing, you can go to the Garage Works store, and if blue and gray and all that is your thing, you can go to the Gatton CNC store.
Okay, now the true test. First of all, it's the wheels are unlocked and it's not dropping down, which means that's heavy. Will I be able to move it? Sure. Piece of cake. Okay, so now I don't want to leave it up here too long because I don't know how long I can depend on those clamps, but this is what I'm shooting for. Good old Colossus. I got plenty of room here, and let me see how far I can go with this without dropping it off the hinges. All right, so normally I'll park this on the end or on this end, whatever. I can have time to sweep the room.
Okay, we got another question here. I guess
by the way, another beautiful advantage to this. Look where all the sawdust is going to fall. One nice little line.
Yeah, you can just leave your shop vac hose laying on the floor.
Yep.
Corey's got a thing. He says, clarification, Dave, and I think this gets back to what he was asking earlier, Javi. He says, if you operate the CNC in an angle but not fully vertical, will your legs or other bracing scenario help the table stay put beyond locking the knobs on the rail system?
Yes, actually, okay, you hear that? That's the legs dropping because I undid that one. I didn't undo it. I just, knocked it off. It happened by accident. It's, these lucky accidents that you have. I've got a slat wall, as you can see behind me. This is I owned a store years ago. I brought I recycle everything. Okay, I'm guilty. I hoard everything. I didn't want to leave a bunch of very expensive slat wall in a store that I put up the slat wall. When my lease was up, I took it all home. Well, what better place to put it than in one of my workshops? Well, right now, you can't see it, but it's hinged over here, and the 2x4 is magnetically touching here. Well, I had weaker magnets, and they would always fall, and it would drive me up the wall until I realized I'm listening to it as it's coming down. It's going clink, 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 clink on the wall. This thing right now is locked in place. I was talking earlier about having another. I could actually have a little bolt with a precisely drilled on. So I have it on either side of the screw, but nothing will hold as well as this. I could also, if I knew the exact positions that I wanted, I could actually have different legs. But really, I mean, right now it moves a little. Just the weight of this thing, this bolt isn't in yet. Normally, both bolts. Right now, this side is hanging, which is why it's moving like this. When I have both bolts in and it's hanging on those wheels, the garage door wheels, nothing's moving this thing. I mean, this is it's as solid as this side. So it's a heavy piece of machinery. Now let me try to lower it. This is the part that's difficult. I raised it, but let me put the wood back.
Yeah, we're all just hoping those clamps don't slip, Hobby.
Yeah, well, now I know right now you're all hoping that this thing goes flying and kicks my butt up against the wall. But we'll see. Right here, it's I can hold it easily. Now at this point, well, actually now, this is nothing, and I could just lay it down. So yeah, it's not an issue. See, this is what I was worried about. I'm pushing 70 pounds. I got to put cushions on that side. I'm pushing 70 pounds. Those 70 pounds. It doesn't feel at all like 70 pounds, which it isn't really. It's I'd say it feels like I'm pushing down about 40 pounds, 30 or 40 pounds at the heaviest, which is the heaviest would be right about here. Yeah, in fact, here I'm pushing down. Here I'm pushing down and in. Right here, already it's easy. I'm just pushing in. Right here, I'm pushing down. It's very simple. Here, it's very difficult. Because that's the point where this point right now, the fulcrum is perpendicular. It's at 90 degrees to the wall. So I'm pushing up, and I'm pushing down and in, and you know, I mean, it's a simple design. Those two rails go straight up and down. That's all you got to do is look on paper and come up with what your height is, the distance to the wall. So there's one leg is the distance to the wall from the fulcrum. Another distance is the distance to the wall from the end of the table, because you got to calculate the weight. Another point is the distance to the floor. Pythagorean theorem, you can easily figure out the length of that thing. So if you've got the angle, using cosine or sine, depending which way you use it, you've got the angle. You know what percentage. Let's say this weighed 100 pounds, and you put the fulcrum in the middle. 50 pounds would be on this side, 50 pounds would be on that side. And it would be perfectly balanced in the middle. Now,
Javi, before you get to pushing on that thing too much more, you might want to check those clamps. Somebody in the chat saying the left one moved, gave a little or something.
Yeah, let me go ahead and bring them down.
Actually, you're making me nervous because I know you got it clamped on that aluminum, and I would have just stuck the clamp on the table and.
I know.
It's, many times if you move that around, it's going to keep jiggling.
Yeah, the problem is if I clamp it on the aluminum, it's not an issue. If I clamp it on the table, I gotta clamp that clamp doesn't go in on both sides. I gotta
put a spacer on.
Yeah, because I wouldn't want to bend the aluminum.
We all just don't want to see it come flying down towards you.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be good for a laugh, I guess.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Yep. Whee! Yeah. So anyway. Yeah, so even from the side, I get stuck behind the door, no problem. I can just easily. I mean, it's a like I said, this box is a very simple, and this is a great handle.
Got another question out there. Corey's got another question. I hope you're taking good notes, Corey.
Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
Are those general garage door caster wheels in the rails you find in the box stores? You bought them off of Amazon or something?
I bought them off Amazon. I bought 2 garage rails, standard garage rails, and the doors and the rollers I bought again on Amazon. I bought a 10-pack of rollers. I didn't really need any, but I figured, what the hey. 2. All you need is 2 rollers and 2 garage door tracks. The tracks will run you about $50. All the hardware, another 20. Lots of screws. Actually, not even 20, because this is all part of the Gatton build.
Yeah.
Really, the garage thing itself, I think, between the wood, because there's a lot of 2x4s in there. Between the wood and the 2x8s and the garage door rails, probably about $200.
Yeah. Raymond Dixon put a comment and says, I would put a safety lock when raising and lowering the CNC. Really, once you have the lead screws.
Once the lead screws are there, you don't need anything. I mean, it's yeah, the only reason why there's a safety on there now, which is those bars that are screwed onto the bottom, because if not, this thing would roll right off the rails. But as soon as those lead screws are in, it's 20 to 1. There's no what is it? 20 revolutions to the inch, right? Or is it 10?
No, it's 2 revolutions per inch.
It's 2 revolutions. No. It's 2 revolutions. Oh, it's 5 start.
Yeah, it's 5 start. It moves 2 revolutions to move 1 inch. But my point is, there's not, if you got the power off, there's nothing to turn the lead screw, so it can't move.
Yeah. That thing will not move. And it's incredibly sturdy. For those of you that saw me sitting on the thing and standing on the thing, it's incredibly sturdy, and surprisingly, I don't want to say it's light, but I mean, this is not like, it's that's a fun little build. God, I can't wait to see it operating, huh?
All right, my next question, and this is for me.
Yeah.
When I know your family's sick and all that, you got a lot going on. When is a realistic expectation to see this thing fired up and running?
I may actually, certainly by my show Thursday, I'll be running it. So probably by the Twitch show, I might have actually, I don't know, having OBS in here. I might do my Twitch show on YouTube this week. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I can't see this taking more than. I mean, I've put about 4 hours into it, 3 hours into the actual this part of the assembly, and it doesn't take more than 4 or 5 hours. The longest part of it is screwing the screws in. You know, you got to tap the screws, screw the screws, and because everything else is tomorrow I'm going to buy the screws and mount the hardware. So Xylotech's box is here. The motors are here. They're going to be mounted tomorrow. I want to say tomorrow I'll be running the thing. But I got to see if I can I haven't set up a computer yet. So at most it'll take a couple days to set up the computer. The build will be done tomorrow. I mean,
Be Happy wants to know what's the name of your Twitch channel.
Oh, Javi Woodshop without the S. It's twitch.tv/Javi Woodshop. These are the only two pieces left. There's this and there's this. Sweet. Those are the only two pieces left. Everything else is just aligning the screws. So tomorrow I'll be just aligning lead screws. What's this one for? Oh, the Z box. Must be for the Z box.
Probably goes on the Z plate. I don't remember seeing you put it on there.
Ah, okay, gotcha. Yep. Those are the only three pieces I have left. Other than that, obviously and these four, the mounts, and I'm done. It was. If I knew then what I know now, I mean, if I knew it was this simple before I would never have bought that Cam Master. Don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic machine, it's a solid machine. It's well worth the $9,000 I paid for it. But if I would have known how easy and inexpensive it is to get into a professional, and for all of those listening, one of my first videos is going to be probably out sometime in February, is going to be a side-by-side comparison. And I'll tell you right now, I have no doubt that bang for your buck, it's the exact same outcome is going to come out of both machines. I mean,
I think Corey's wanting to know when you're going to have plans ready for purchase.
I want to finish building the machine first, but I don't expect it to take more than a week or two. I got to sit down and draw up the plans. I just got to sit down and draw them up. That's not going to take long. It is a very simple build. So yeah, that's not gonna take long.
Be Happy Woodworking and Honeybees is asking Dave, ask can he run both CNCs off one computer or not? Well, you already got a computer with your Cam Master.
Yeah. I would never. Well, let's put it this way. I've been doing this like Ralph. I've been working with CNC for as long as CNC's been around. I've been in the industry, although it's been mostly laser work. And one rule of thumb for me has always been one computer per one machine, and nothing else on that computer. Because in the old days, it was IRQ problems. Now it's not so much that, but resources. It's all about resources. And if you've got one bad program that's a resource hog, and all of a sudden it's demanding something from your computer, and your computer's trying to send at a standard, at a very slow but easy, a regular pace, parallel output information, it's got to be there, you know, constantly streaming to the machine. I won't get into the electronics parts of it. Many of you guys already know the electrical part of it, but suffice to say, keep the machine only for that unit. Do your design work if you can afford it on a different machine. A lot of people use the same machine, but they don't design while they're running a CNC. I mean, it wouldn't be wise to do anything while you're running a CNC for that reason, for resources. I have one computer for my vinyl cutter. I have another computer for my second vinyl cutter. I have one for my rotary engraver. I got this, well, you can't even see it here, but along with this mess, this is a very, very tiny version of, let's see if I can pull it out a little.
If I could just add something real quick, Javi.
Yeah.
It's kind of on the same lines of his. I have a desktop computer out of my garage, and I also have 3 different CNCs out there. I can run all 3 of those CNCs off that same computer, but not at the same time. I just load a different machine profile when I start Mach 3. So, you know, yeah, you can use the same computer for multiple CNCs, but you shouldn't do them at the same time. Run one at a time.
Yeah, if your question is, can I take that computer and pop it into this one? Absolutely. Absolutely. In a heartbeat. I happen to have extra computers laying around because I got 11 PCs at home, and 8 of them are currently operating one CNC or another, from a vinyl cutter to, this is a rotary engraver. This is a very, very tiny version. In fact, I'll show you how tiny. Wrong one. Here is one of the, I don't know if you can see that, but that is an engraving bit for this machine, and it goes right into, you can't see it on this side, but imagine a little tiny router. It's 11/64 instead of a quarter. So this is an extremely expensive, extremely precise machine. It costs as much as the other one, as that other big CNC router. It's made for engraving and well, it's an industrial machine. But every single machine, this one has the computer right behind the computer I'm using for Hangouts. I'm not even using the same computer. There's 2 computers. Hang on. And let's see, where's the other one? Well, you could see it. It's back here. But anyway, bottom line, don't try to avoid using a computer for multiple applications. And I like to dedicate one computer for each thing. So my other computer is strapped, locked inside that cabinet. I don't even turn it off. If I do turn it on, I have a little stick that I use as a push button to turn on the thing, because it's deep in there. I've never needed in the last 4 years to do anything other than turn it on when the power goes out. And the mouse and the control is on top. Similarly, the computer is going to be mounted either here or on the other side. Wherever I choose is the lowest route for the cables. If you're like Dave and you have 3 machines and you only use one at a time, then take your Xylotex. I mean, I don't recommend moving the Xylotex and unplugging and plugging in it and all that, but that's the next option. You've got one computer. You can, the next best thing. I mean, that's pretty much the cheapest alternative. Is take one controller and have multiple CNCs. The next option, which is a little more expensive, one controller per CNC and one computer that you can move around. But again, computers are pretty cheap. You can get one for $50. Mount an operating system on it and leave it permanently attached to whatever unit you're using. Any other questions, Dave?
I don't see any more right at the moment.
Yeah, that's funny. Mark saying I got to get away from the Mac, which is funny because the Mac is my design computer. Even though Aspire is PC based, I have to emulate PC on my Mac. But the funny part is, 11 other PC computers, and the Mac is the one I use the most. So it's, yes, I'm an Apple guy for the moment.
Yeah, we could still use some more thumbs up too, guys.
Yeah, I always like the thumbs up. Okay. Well, Corey asked about the JTech and a few other options. Well, I'll be completely honest with you. I mean, I know if I mount a laser head on here, I know exactly what to do with it, and not an issue. But I've run industrial lasers in the past, and I have a laser. Although it caught on fire, I got to fix the belts, but that's minor. If I can build a CNC, I can fix the CNC. The laser that I have is a Mercury 100-watt laser. It's an 18 by 24 bed, and it's not a $2,000 or $3,000. It's a $20,000 very precise machine. This machine and the laser have one thing in common. You know those Aztec symbols that everybody's carving into 2 feet big discs and 1 foot big discs? I've got somewhere in one of these drawers, I've got a piece of wood, a piece of hardwood, 1 inch high, and you can see with a magnifying glass every single detail of that Aztec calendar. That's how precise this machine and that other machine are. I can't say that it's a far cry between that thing and that focus, that pinpoint focus, and those little JTECs. But it's also a far cry the money you spend. I would love to have one of those things on here just for fun. You could have the same exact the same Mach 3, the same program, running both at the same time. That's an advantage. So what was the original question was?
Well, he's got a question now. He says laser used with the Gatton.
A dual head laser, Gatton laser, and spindle Z-axis bed. Spindle. You mean a lathe spindle? No, wait a second. What is he? Laser and spindle. Z-axis. Oh, gotcha. Oh, I see what you're saying. One on either side. Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. From what I've seen, I know there's a couple of guys who've put a router on both sides just to get the full use of the last 14 inches of the bed. But on the other hand, they all say the same thing. They never use it. One guy actually uses it for, which wouldn't be a bad idea, it uses it for a lathe on the back. Always knows the exact position to lock it into, and then he uses the lathe back there, which is an option. I know Mark, I believe, I don't know if he is working on it or if he was going to do this thing sticks out in the front. So you could easily either cut a notch out or make the rails longer and cut a notch out, or just could just make the rails longer, cut a notch out, and put a lathe in there, or just mount a lathe to the end of the bed. This thing sticks out far enough where I could easily mount a vice grip on here, like a few people have done, and I can do dovetail joints. But honestly, if you're doing a production of dovetail joints, more power to you. That's definitely the way to go. But if you're doing one box or two boxes of dovetail joints, the setup involved to do it on a CNC router doesn't compare to just getting one of those little box joint jigs, or making your own jig, mounting it on a work table, and with a manual router, you're done. It's you know, if we're talking time, it's not, and for me, everything's about time. But as far as mounting a laser on it, you could always mount the laser. I mean, there's no reason you can't mount the laser next to it. You could do a little contraption where the laser is mounted next to it. I don't know if I'd mount it on the opposite side. That's just an awful lot of work. A whole entire Z-box extra, another Z-box.
Yeah, Be Happy Woodworking wants to know, does parallel port work better, or can you use USB connections?
Well, I've always been a fan of parallel. I've always had issues with USB. But that being said, many of my machines are only parallel. And the newer machines that I have them connected parallel because, you know, because I'm kind of set in my ways. I've been hearing good things about, what is that, the UC100? What is the
Yeah, it's a CNC motion controller.
Well,
it's a USB.
The USB, which is the USB adapter? Or,
well, that's the UC100.
That's the UC100? Yeah.
And I'd have to say, you know, being a long time parallel port user, using Xylotex for years and all that, you know, you come to the point where you have to realize that parallel ports aren't going to be around forever. You can't find them on any new computer now anyway. So I highly recommend the UC100. Get one and use it, even if you have an older computer with a parallel port. Just go ahead and use a USB and use that UC100, and then when the computer finally craps out, you can bring out a laptop or any computer, and you're good to go.
Yeah, yeah, and there are, I don't know if because I'm not familiar with the UC100 yet. Eventually, I will be, but I will say this: there are many Ethernet to parallel converters, where you could run stuff. I guess the UC100 is one such device.
Yeah, and you know the smooth stepper, it's available in both a USB and an Ethernet. That's another option.
Yeah.
But sooner or later, you're going to have to give up parallel. I mean, the Xylotex box will still have a parallel port going to it, but you're going to need something in between, and probably something going to USB.
And they have the easiest thing to do is get a USB to parallel converter, and you're done, and you can connect to a parallel port. So you know, the devices that I have, in fact, this one here, the rotary engraver, it's actually a serial port that it connects to. That's, I mean, you talk about antiquated. It's all serial. It's all programming. Whereas parallel, it's beautiful because parallel, you've got 25 pins on clearly on a DB25. Not all of them are in use. You will have 8 of them that you need for the getting a little more on the technical side, but you basically have 8 pins that you have to have for the parallel communication. And then there are others that are completely accessible. And here's the thing with whether parallel, serial, USB, Ethernet, you can send a code. It all translates to ones and zeros, and I could send an 8-bit code where I don't want to go off on a tangent here. This is what I enjoyed the most in my electronics
class. I think we're too late.
Is digital digital electronics is what logic circuits is what I enjoy the most. But basically, you have 8 on-off switches. You have a combination. It's the old joke. It's the old riddle. I don't know if you guys have heard this before, but you walk into a room. You have one opportunity. You have 3 lights in the room. There's 3 switches on the wall. On the outside wall. There's 3 switches. You have 3 lights. They all work. I mean, they all have bulbs in them. You have to do anything you want to the switches, but you have to enter the room once, leave the room, and know which switch goes to which light. How do you determine that? You know, want to take a stab at it, Dave?
No, because I wasn't paying attention. I was reading the chat.
It's all right. Well, the answer is simple. And by the way, the whole thing of the trick is you can't see the lights from the outside. You have to flip on and off, or any combination of on or off on the switches. Then you can leave them that way, and then open the door, go inside, walk outside, close the door, and you have to know with that one flip of the switch which one is which. Well, it's simple. Flip one switch on, flip another switch off, flip one switch on for a little while, and then turn it off. So you have one that's on, one that's off, and one that's off and really hot. So the point is, with the 3 on-off switches, you have more than a combination of 3. You have a combination of 2 to the third power, 8. Yeah. Like I said, tangent.
Yeah, so you get me confused because you're talking about 3 switches, and a USB plug only has 2 possible combinations, and it still takes me 6 times of flipping it back and forth to get a USB plug in.
Yeah. Well, you got a point there. There's only 2 ways it can go in. Yeah, but I mean, USB is serial, and but serial, parallel, again, whichever way you transmit information. Information is transmitted 8, 16, 64 bits at a time, 128, depending on the mode. But that even a parallel port with only 8 on-off switches has a combination of 2 to the 8th. What is that? 256. 256 combinations. So with a little bit of translation software, you could run all sorts of devices. But that's the beautiful part about the CNC. It's all on off when you get into it. Popped off its little thing. There we are. Yeah, fiber optic is so nice.
Yeah, Mark made a good point about the UC100s. There's a lot of fake ones out there. And I can tell you right now, I think the current price is about $110. Whether you buy it on Amazon, it might be $115 if you buy it directly from the website. But if you see one on eBay or something for $50 or $29.95 or something, it's a fake.
Yeah, be very careful when you buy If you're not buying the Xylotex or lead shine directly from them, be very careful with. I mean, even Dave's bought some stepper motors that look identical to lead shine. Lead shine has their quality control. Anything that gets rejected from, I mean, you never know what happens in one of these Chinese plants. They can they have a bunch of them that are defective, that get hot. They're not going to throw them away. They're going to maybe put them in a dumpster and somebody will pick them up and sell them. They might be identical to a lead shine, except for the lead shine label that they put after, and they just might not be that high quality. Or you might find some that just happen to be identical and they're a lot cheaper. I mean, it's a risk. It's a risk that you can take. If you find a stepper motor for $20 and there's a high quality one for $80, well, are you going to take a chance? Because you can buy 4 bad ones, and if you get one good one, you broke even. It's all a risk out there. Just be very careful. You know, there are a lot of people who, including myself, whose mentality is you buy quality and it'll last you a lot longer, and you'll get a bigger bang for your buck. You know, you buy cheap. Don't get me wrong. I have my set of Harbor Freight tools, and some of them are if you treat them like gold, which I don't, you can get a long life out of them. But yes, and what do you mean, Dixon? Am I drinking Diet Coke again? Well, the question is, when am I not drinking Diet Coke?
Yeah, only because he took the IV tube out.
Yeah. I don't know if I can remember the last time I drank water. I remember. Well, technically, it wasn't really water. You know that little Emergen-C, that 1,000 milligrams of, I love that powder, raspberry. I should buy some raspberry drink. Maybe that'll be a little healthier than Diet Coke for a little while. I poured that little drink into a little glass of water. That's about just to boost my immune system. I got a whole sick family here, so. Eight XP machines in reserve. Yeah, Mark, you are almost the pack rat I am. That's the highest compliment I can pay. I've got sitting right here. You can't see it, and I don't think I can yank it out. Well, maybe I could yank it out. Yeah, there it is. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? That's a wonderful VGA monitor. Yes, a VGA monitor. Forget widescreen. Oh, and forget the fact that it doesn't work either. But, you know, one day I may take it apart and fix the power supply and find some old needy family that has an old computer so old that it still uses VGA. I got a disease. Working on it, though. See, now a complete Amiga 2000 system, that's not junk. That is vintage, and that is probably worth a heck of a lot more than you paid for it right now. I know well, maybe not more, but I had a Mac Plus. Oh, I love that little computer. I ended up, for some reason or another, with 3 Mac Pluses in my possession over the years. And I dumped them in the garbage. This was 20 years ago when they were worthless. I've gone to 2 or 3 amateur radio conventions, being an amateur radio operator, and they're going for, on average, $400 to $500. Those vintage little machines, and the truly sad part is, if I had $400 to blow, I would go buy one of those things. Yep, 4-3. Dixon Hoffman said, "Oh, I see you also have a YouTube channel." Mark, you have YouTube?
What? Mark got a YouTube channel?
Mark's got a YouTube channel. It's amazing. Oh,
that's funny right there.
Yeah. Yeah, Corey, I had a boneyard of parts, and little by little I have been working on it. You know, if you've seen my Hoarding to Boarding series on YouTube, little by little I've been working on trashing everything. It's not easy. It's not easy because you grew up with the stuff, you know its value, at least the value as it was to you. There's a lot of emotional attachment, and there's a lot of, you know, hey, somebody could use this thoughts running through your mind. So it's a lot of psychology to fight. And I ain't fighting.
Yeah, Mark Lindsay had a question I passed over, and it's way back up here. I don't remember his exact wording, but it's basically, are we going to see any wrench turning tonight, or is this just show and tell, or
no?
We're going to see
just
the actual fabrication tonight.
This is it for tonight, because I'm stuck until I have the screws for the motors. The motors is all that's left for me to continue, and I can't really do much else. I'm not gonna mount these things because I don't have a position to mount them yet. You know, you gotta clamp them in place. You gotta. First thing I plan to do is make the lead screw parallel as best I can, and well, follow your videos.
What? Nobody watches those things.
You got videos on YouTube? I suppose I could stick one of these things somewhere. Where do these things go? That doesn't fit there. This is the hobby method. It's instructions are over there, but well, that's not the hobby method. I guess everybody on this chat probably uses this method. When all else fails, read the instructions. Luckily, I got Dave Gatton here. Hey, where do these bearings go?
Well, 2 of them are going to go in those pieces you just set back down on the top of the gantry.
This one?
No, the under the motor mounts. Keep going. Keep going.
Ah.
Yeah, they get pressed in there too.
There we go. Hey, I can do that now.
And one of them needs to get pressed into the bottom of the Z box, if you choose to use that one. Like I said, I never even use that. I put the bottom cover on for structure, and usually don't even put the lead.
I suppose I could do that. Let's see here. Where's that hammer?
And then the final one you have to press into the, I guess, the left side. You mount the stepper motor on the right side of the gantry.
What's that?
You're mounting the X stepper motor over there where you're at on that side.
I'm mounting the stepper motor here. Yeah.
Okay, so the bearing gets pressed in on the other end. Well, you're gonna have to make an extension, I think, though. So you may want to hold off on that.
Yep. I got to make an extension. Ow, my knee. Yep. Luckily, man, these things slide in perfect. I love it.
Yeah, the guy that designed that must be a genius.
Man, I'm telling you, he's
It always tickles me when somebody does something. They go, "Oh man, the holes lined up and everything was perfect." And I'm like, "That's how it's supposed to be."
Yeah, I know.
You know,
what the hell did you expect?
You do it on 3D model software, and it's all perfect on the computer. And if you cut it on a CNC, it should be perfect.
That is. Look at that. You're talking perfect, flush. I mean. Yep. These two are done. I'll worry about that one tomorrow. I'm not going to get on my knees and yank that thing out right now. So let's see. That's pretty much it. Good night, Reginald. Have a nice day. Almost like they were designed that way. Yep. Yep. Let's see if anybody has any requests.
Yeah. Any other questions, guys?
Any other questions? And if not, I'll just head off to the office or to the room.
Lead nuts. Where's the Diet Coke? That's not a real question. Come on. Have you already got you've already got your dumpster stuff? The couplers and.
Well, I got them right here. Hang on. Yep. Unfortunately,
that's right. You got the other.
As Dave knows, unfortunately, in that 1 week, for those of you that have been following along, that 1 week that dumpster was hit by a tornado and was out of business just for about a week. That just happened to be the week that I bought these things from Acme or whatever, that other company.
Yeah, MS Service, I think was their name.
Yeah, so I've got one of these. I've got one of these.
I gotta tell you, Javi, if it's in the budget, I would order the dumpster ones before you continue.
I'll definitely. What I'm going to do is eventually I'm going to order the dumpster one for the backlash nuts. But these couplers, I got to be honest with you, I really like the idea of I'm not into the Delrin thing. I really like the idea of those steel ones that have the 8.
Yeah, well, the reason I like the Delrin ones from dumpster is because the half that goes on the lead screw is threaded to match the lead screw. So I've never had any issue with really either side coming loose. Some people have trouble with them, but I just think they're afraid to crank on them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to this. So we'll see what happens. Again, if it's a weak point, it's a weak point. We'll see what.
Dixon Hoffman says, I put rack and pinion on my machine. What do you think about rack and pinion?
I love rack and pinion.
It's great if you can afford it.
Rack and pinion is phenomenal. My rack and pinion's on my other machine. I'll take that any day. The speed, the precision. I love rack and pinion. But like Dave said, it's also the most expensive.
Yeah, I hope people, some of these people, I hope they understand that, when they look at the Gatton kit and they go, well, gosh, it could have been better by doing this or that. Yeah, but it would have been a whole lot more expensive. The whole purpose of this design is to keep it as cheap as possible.
I spent $1,200, give or take $30. Just so you guys know, $1,200. That includes the entire table assembly. That includes the Xylotex, which now, you're going to have to put a little more work into it, and you're going to have to buy an enclosure, but you can get it for $250 instead of $400. So you can save $150 there. That includes the motors. It includes the lead nuts. It includes the lead screws. It includes the aluminum angles. That's an entire machine. Okay, missing the software and the computer. Other than the software and the computer, you're looking at $1,200 complete. That's me. You know, cheaper if you don't build if you build a simple table. Cheaper if you don't build it as huge as I did and use, what is it, 4 times, so it's 32, 64 feet of aluminum angle. that was a hefty thing. It's cheaper if you do a lot of different things. Obviously cheaper if you grab the stepper motors from an old copy machine instead of. There's a lot of options out there, but best bang for the buck, I'm happy. I got it right here. You know, and what Dave always says is that it's some I've seen some people out there, because I've read it. I read everything practically as far as comments. One of the things that I did was research people that have built one. How do you like it? You know, 9 times out of 10, I love it. I love it. I love it. It's wonderful. And then you got those few that, oh well, this is giving me a problem. Well, the controller, whatever, Xylotex or other controller, has given me a problem. What do? Well, you know, there's constant sawdust flying in it, so it burned out. You know, this is giving me a problem. It's not perfect. Well, did you build it according to the specification? No, I did this and I did this. Well, for those people who have followed the instructions to the letter, or close thereabouts, they're very happy with their machines. And you know, I'm ecstatic about trying this one. So and that's Mark brings up one of the best points, because for those of you who've been following me, I bought the Gatton kit in February, just before the show, or just about the time of the show. Yeah, about 2 weeks before the show, I bought the kit. I even told Dave, I'm going to be at the show if you want to give it to me there. Hey, he's got his process. He mailed it to me because he had other people waiting in line. That was the kit. So I bought that little chunk of it, which is the first step, because now you know what all the other parts and what to budget for. I didn't have, $1,200 burning a hole in my pocket. Well, I did, but I used 1,000 of it to go to the show. So it's either buy a machine or not. That show was fantastic, but that's me. Then later I bought the lead screws next. I had some more money. I bought some plywood. Plywood was sitting there, and then I bought the Xylotex. When I was ready and I had everything, which was last week, I finally had the last thing. I told Dave, I'm pulling the trigger. And oh, by the way, a piece of advice from one Gatton builder to another: if you choose to build your Gatton, don't tell Dave you're building it. He hates hearing that. He loves to see it when it's finally built. Just saying.
Well, you can tell me you're building it if you are already building it.
Yeah.
But don't say, yeah, I'm going to get one of those and build it. Because I hear that all the time, and I'm like,
yeah,
talk's cheap.
I'm going to build it. I'm going to build it. I'm going to build it. I did not say, as Mark Lindsay can attest, I'm saying I'm getting the parts, I'm getting the parts, I'm getting the parts. I did not start officially building this until, if you want to count the painting and everything, Thursday. If you want to count the actual putting together of the pieces, yesterday. Yesterday I started, no. If you want to include the table, last week I spent the weekend and I built the table in total of 4 hours over the whole weekend. But the actual rails I did yesterday. This I did between yesterday and today. Z-Box today. I mean, it doesn't take long at all once you have all the pieces prepped. That's my point. It's just, but the beautiful part is I've spent since February, little by little, collecting the pieces. Now I have the advantage. I have another CNC machine in my shop, so I'm not in no rush to build one. But for those of you who,
Michael Chips, I don't know whether he just joined us or not, but he says no motors yet. What the
heck? You got some screws you can send me? That's the only part that I didn't pay attention to. See, that's the one thing. For those of you who, when you order his plans, that first page has every single part you need listed on it. And damned if I didn't go to the hardware store and didn't buy those stupid little nuts. I mean, what are they? 1032nd? No, they're
1024.
1024. Yeah, the 1024. I'll just go to Ace tomorrow, pick them up, and I'm done. I'm done. This is good to go. Now I have to decide which motor, which router to stick in it. I'll probably stick my old Porter cable router in it.
Yeah, Mark. Yeah, I forgot about that. Mark says, pay attention to the screw sizes for the lead nuts, the Acme nuts, too, Javi. Because you got to use like a 632, something real small.
For the for these things.
Yeah. And especially in your cases, you got the other kind that's not going to fit in that.
I was actually gonna screw these in with quarter 20 screws. I gotta bolt these in, right?
Well, you can drill them out and put a little 632 screw with a nut on the other side, or you can put a wood screw if.
Yeah, wood screw fits.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually I'm gonna switch these out anyway, but yeah, I think. I mean, really,
the pocket that I put in there, I put the pocket for the dumpster CNC Acme nut. Okay.
Yeah, I'm familiar. See, I'm not going to worry about that because I did watch your video, or the video of after the dumpster thing, and all you got to do is just simply go to this side and just screw it onto there. The other option I have is just widen this a little bit with a chisel.
Yeah,
2 seconds.
You could do that too.
Yeah, it's 1, 2, should be 4. So, yeah. Let me put this before I lose it back over here. But yeah, that's about it. Let's see. I want 632 machine screws and nuts. Yeah, that's a good point, Mark. I mean, I was thinking about that. I was thinking wood screws, but yeah, one crash and I'll rip the lead screw right off the wood screw right out of the mount. 632 machine screws. Okay, so
they'll have those at
Lowe's
or Home Depot or a hardware store or wherever.
Make a note. It's going to be 16 632s.
Yeah, you need 8 of them. 2 per hour.
2 or 4?
I think this is.
These have 4 holes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the dumpsters have.
They have 2, one on each side.
Just 2.
And nuts. And then you got also 16. You said 1034s, right? I mean 1024s.
Have you already got any kind of spacer blocks for the Z-axis and the X-axis motor?
You mean these things?
Oh yeah, that's right. You got them.
Yeah. Thanks to Mark, and thank you again, Mark.
Just remember that you'll need probably some 2-inch 1024 screws.
All right.
And some 3-inch 1024 screws to get all the way through them spacers and everything.
2-inch for which ones and 3-inch for which ones?
Well, I used the 2-inch on the Z, but I think I used 3-inch. It's either 2.5 or 3-inch, because when you put the stepper motor on the X-axis over there, you've got about a 1/4 inch worth of stepper motor flange. You've got 1.5 inch worth of spacers, and then you got 3/4 worth of the upright to get all the way through and have enough to put a nut on.
3/4 of upright. It looks here like this looks like 3/4 of a spacer. Oh, because you're putting 2 spacers?
Yeah, I'm putting 2 spacers on each one.
Oh, that's right, because
you want to be able to get to those screws on the, well, when you get the good couplers.
The Ys don't need spacers, correct?
No, you don't need any spacers on the Ys.
All right, so it's 2 spacers for the Z and 2 spacers for the X. Correct?
Yeah, 2 on the X. Oh, sorry, I was reading the chat. Somebody says, what router head do you recommend, Dave? Man, there's a gazillion choices.
Yeah.
You know, I recommend the one you have already to start with.
Yeah. I'm partial to the Porter cable, but I'm partial to the, I was listening to the show, and that's about the only thing I disagree with Ralph on is the water-cooled spindle. There may be some bad Chinese ones out there, but the ones we got.
Well, I know I didn't say anything, but I'm running a Chinese.
Oh, I've been running that. I've been running it so often, and I gotta tell you though, I did have that issue, that worry. I go, I don't want anything water related next to electronics or next to, but come on, those are sealed lines. Those are sealed tubes. It's not high pressure at all. It's low pressure. It's an aquarium pump.
Very low pressure.
We're gonna say. And with the little flow meters that I have, it's a pleasure, first of all, watching those things move. And you always know that you're getting a good flow. But
yeah, I just didn't want to, I wouldn't run the water a lot.
No, of course.
In with drag chain where all that other stuff is. I just ran mine overhead.
Oh yeah, see, I ran mine in the with the drag chain. I don't have an issue with that. I mean that now, the one that comes with it, no way. It's inflexible. It's plastic. It looks like a thick straw. I mean, you bend that thing the wrong way, and that thing will crease and break. It feels like it'll crease and break. It's too brittle. I use a standard 1/4 inch inner diameter hose, and like I said, I adapted it with a couple of hose barbs to the original fittings that it had on the water cooled spindle. I wish they had 1/4 inch, and then I run 1/4 inch lines everywhere, and I'm very happy with it. It runs all the way through my I got clear line running all through the drag chain, and I don't have a single issue. Yeah, I don't have a problem with any of that. And that's the other thing. My pump works only when the spindle is on, and the spindle and the pump are turned on via Mach 3, or in CNC in my case, but Mach 3. So the only time there's ever water flowing through there is when it's running a job. Yeah, I had, funny, Mark, it's funny you say that, because I'm a huge fan of Porter cable. I have probably almost as many Porter cables as Richard Day has DeWalt's. I'm a big fan of Porter cable, just about everything Porter cable. But oddly enough, the Porter cable that I received with my, it may be that I was just running it ragged, or maybe that it was I cut too much MDF and I didn't use Dave's underwear trick. Joke around underwear. It's an old T-shirt as a filter, but the carbons were completely, the armature actually on mine completely went. It still runs, but it sounds loud as heck. I've got an 890, and it ran for about a year and a half before, well, I switched it for the water-cooled spindle. And have I the money, I will get another water-cooled spindle for this machine. But until then, hell, I'll throw in a Harbor Freight router. Be funny.
Eloy wants to know how far have we gotten.
Ah, Eloy. Well, here we go. Let me show you. The only thing remaining, Eloy, is because, I mean, I stopped a while back because there's not really much to do until I get the screws to mount the motors. Tomorrow it'll be done. This is the, see if I didn't lock it in place. No. And let's see, can you see the whole thing there? How far have I got? Hang on, let me drop the leg. Here we go. This is the front and rear plate here. All I need to do is attach one thing to these things. That's simple. That's tomorrow. This thing moves up and down, but I've got it clamped. This holds the mount. All I got to do is tighten it down. This box for the router, all I got to do tomorrow is those simple things, mounting the motors and sticking the lead screws through, aligning them, and running the wires. It's done. It's pretty much done. Yeah, when the definitely when this thing is running, I'm gonna park it on that end because it'll keep the table up on that end, and I won't have to mess with this. It won't roll toward me when the thing is done. But and Eloy, did you see the picture of me with the picture of me on the machine? Hang on a second. Oh, Dave, did you see the picture on Facebook, Dave?
I did.
Yeah, I was standing on the machine. I was lying on the machine. That's first thing I did was test it. As soon as I went like this and pressed really hard when it was standing, when it was horizontal, and that thing did not give a millimeter, I go, forget this. Then I sat on it just to test it, and then I bounced on it. It would not bounce. Then forget it. I just lied on it and then stood on it, and I'll surf that thing. You know, that's one of my my first video is me with the remote control surfing on the thing. My second video is going to be me in the hospital after I fall off the thing. Yep. So far, Steve, I've got 4 hours. That's about the approximate time. 4 hours total once you have all the pieces cut. I've put in, let's see, yesterday I put in about hour and a half. Today I put in another little bit of time during while I was chatting with everybody. I put maybe 20 minutes of time screwing stuff together while I was talking for an hour. Right now I put in 2 minutes mounting this thing while I was chatting with everybody. And during Dave's show, I probably put in a good half hour's worth of time putting together the Z box. All said and done, I've got about three or 4 hours of actual assembly. And like I said before, I've got 2 days of painting. I've got a day of cutting wood, and maybe a weekend of the table. But once you have the table, the rest is cake. And I've been filming everything, so I've got a nice little time-lapse view of it. Yeah, Weebles wobble. I just fall. Weebles wobble, Javi's plummet. And that's one of the things that worried me, Dave. But every time something worries me, the way it looks, I test it, and it's incredible. One of the things that worried me was the box. And I go, I wonder if I'm going to have to put any kind of, because I've seen some people put extra little bars in there. But I know the logic behind torsion boxes. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people, if you got some extra plywood or whatever, cut it to where it fits in there snug. If it makes you sleep better at night, put it in there. But
yeah, it is
really
not necessary at all. I mean, you saw me standing on that thing, 260 pounds, and you're not going to get longer. In fact, that's longer than the lead screw. That's most people would go 70 inches on the table. So 69 and 5/8 is the measurement, table end to end, if you want to do the box, the full lead screw on the box. My table end to end is 75 1/4. So I am going to have to do a little bit of engineering to put this inside a little bit. No big deal. But even saying that box is longer, unless you build a 4x8 where the X is 8 feet long with a bigger lead screw. This is bigger than any box that you're ever going to get. And I'm standing on this thing, and it's not moving. But what surprised me, I think, was this little this thing on the side. Whatever this is called.
Acme nut bar.
Yeah, the Acme nut bar thing. Because I'm really worried about, because of all the weight of this thing, it's running off 2 of these. And I'm worried that little thing can hold it or not. Because horizontal is one thing. All it is pushing it. Now it's carrying the weight of it. So I may have to double up on that, or just, strengthen it. But I'm surprised at how sturdy that thing is, the way it's in there.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, I'm lifting up the whole entire half of the box, and it's not budging.
Yeah, for such a small piece of wood, though, I would probably, since you're planning on running it the way you are vertical, I would probably double that up just for the heck of it.
Yeah.
Because it certainly wasn't designed to run that way, even though it might,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely do that. But I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Well, anyway, anybody got any more chat over there, or let me see.
I don't see any other questions.
Yeah. Yep, that V carve. Well, Dixon, there's different alternatives. If you know Fusion 360, I understand that it produces G code. if there's other options out there, there's other G-code programs that are free. VCarve Pro is a bit steep.
Yeah, it's expensive for the person who hadn't used it, but once you've used it, you realize it's probably worth twice as much.
Yeah. That's. I mean, I must say that you know, that the $9,000 that I spent on my Cam Master, you know, a couple thousand of that was the computer, and the machine itself with all the bells and whistles is probably closer to seven or $7,500. It's the extra $2,000 that I spent between all the software and the computer, and the computer wasn't that much. But the software is a good part of it. I mean, if you hunt around, you might find something cheaper. But like Dave said, once you get VCarve, you won't go back. Yeah. Make some final notes. Call it a night. So 3-inch. You said 2-inch or 3-inch. Why do I need the 2-inch ones? The 1024s.
The 2-inch one. Did you put the 1024 T-nuts in the underside of the top plate of the Z-Box?
No.
Well, you need to try to get some 1024 T-nuts.
Gotcha.
Because when you go to screw that stepper motor in, you can't get in there to hold a nut. You need to have a T-nut in there to.
Gotcha.
So,
well, what about with a long ratchet?
I mean, I'm not saying you can't do it, but it's a pain in the butt. It's going to be a pain in the butt to reach.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have to raise the Z up above, and if something comes loose and it's stuck down, you can't get to it.
Got it.
So you don't want to have. You want to put T-nuts in there so you don't have to. And you'll use the 2-inch, the 4 2-inch screws. 1024 by 2-inch there, and then you'll need 2.5 to 3-inch on the X.
For the okay, so the 2.5, the 3-inch on the X, and the 2-inch on the Z. Got it.
Let me just do some quick adding here. So you got. Yeah, you're going to 3-inch because you got about 2.5 inches worth of stuff you're going through.
Yeah.
The spacer blocks and all that.
Yeah, you got 1.5 inches and 3/4. That's 2 1/4. Yeah, so 3-inch would be ideal, and the motor mount. So yeah, I mean the motor itself. Yeah, 2.5 inch. All right. Makes perfect sense to me. It's all well and good. Well, guys, if you don't have any questions, I am going to be calling it a night. I thank you all for coming. And I'm looking forward to having this completed tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow I might have a little session at night, if anything. Just to, I don't know, tomorrow or Tuesday I might have or I might just save it all until Thursday. Because like I said, I'll have it all completed tomorrow. But loading Mach 3, finding a computer somewhere in my stuff, and connecting it, that might take a little longer. Well, good night, everybody, and thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful evening.